Hi there, this is Art and Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Red, or Little Red Riding Hood, as portrayed in the movie Hoodwinked. The cape and hood part are optional, but besides that, or including that, you will be wanting to have some red bands, skin tone, some kind of brown or caramel for the hair, yellow and blue. Now if you have a paler yellow or a cream, that's probably a better choice. Fortunately I don't, so I went with the bolder colors here. I originally made my eyes using some beads and Sharpie markers, so that's one choice you could go with, or you can use blue bands, which is what I'll do in the version I'm doing this time. And I also use the little gold bead around the neck. I can show you how that's done a little later on. We are going to need a hook, and you're going to need your loom. We've got it set up as follows. If yours is on the same row, you can adjust your numbers accordingly. But this is what I've got, what I'm working with here. Okay, so we're gonna do the legs first, starting with the shoes. The shoes are going to be done on the hook, and I tried about four different approaches to get this effect. I'm happy with it, so that's what I'm going to show you how to do here. And we start with one red, wrap it on the hook 1, 2, 3 times. Take 2 red bands and put them onto the end. And slide your wrapped band over. Now I want to have a wrapped red band in between, like, here, I'm going to show you 2 ways. So the easier way to do this next step is to replace, put on a wrapped band 1, 2, 3, or 4 times, and then pull that first piece over until it sits in the middle. Let's put this onto 2 more bands, and then I'll show you the other method for adding the middle band. Okay, so slide it onto 2. And our shoes are rather big, so I thought this would be okay to have them a little longer. If you want to throw a yellow in there, you can for the laces, but you don't have to. Now the other way of putting a band in between is to keep this one on your finger. Wrap your next one 1, 2, 3 times, slide it on, and then replace. And you get the same effect. This way it sort of saves you a little step though. Now I'm going to take a single red band, stretch it, twist it back onto itself, put it on the end of the hook and slide it through. Okay, from here we're going to need 2 yellow bands, and put them on the end of the hook, slide through, replace. And from here we switch to our jeans, and this part I'm actually going to do on the loom, because as I said, I tried this a few ways and this seemed to work the best. So we're going to do 2 sets of double blue bands. So that's 2 bands together, go down once and again. And there are going to be 3 more sets, but I made them a little bit thicker so that her pants will expand a little bit. If that sounds like too much or you want to save your bands, you can continue with 3 sets of 2. I'm going to add 1 more for each of the next sets and put 3 from the 3rd peg to the 4th, 4 from the 4th to the 5th, and 5 on the next set. At this point I can take the yellow band that's on my hook and slide it or transfer it from the hook downwards onto the loom like so. And we're going to loop up. So I will put my hook through with the open part facing up and away from me, grab those bottom blues, I have 5 in my case, And we're going to place those onto the peg above. And repeat the next 4, the next 3, the next 2, and the next 2. Now you can leave this where it is or put it onto a holding band, it's up to you. But that is one leg. We're going to make the other, and there will be one more set of blue on here, but we'll add that when we do the part for the body, or the rest of the body I should say. So other leg, I'm going to just lay this out quickly, and then we'll do the work on the hook. It's 3, that's 4, and that looks like 5. Okay, so coming back here to my shoe, single red, wrapped 1, 2, 3 times, pulled onto 2, wrap 1 in the middle, 3 times, replace, slide onto 2, wrap 1 in the middle, replace, slide onto a doubled over single, grab, missed something there, hold on, make sure all of these go over, and when you have the right ones over you should be able to slide that shoe back and forth without it catching on the end of the hook. Replace, 2 yellow, pop it onto the loom, and loop up your blues. This is exactly what we did for the first one, and they should come out to the same length when you place them side to side on your hook. Okay, if you feel like they're moving in opposite directions and we want to take one off, turn it around, you can. I'm going to leave them as is for now. I think they're looking okay. And I'm going to come to my next section here. We're going to start on the arms, and we'll do the top part of the body and then start putting things together. So for the arms, I took 2 single skin tone bands, wrapped them 1, 2, 3 times, and I put them onto 8 separate doubled over single skin tones. So that's 1 and 2. Now if you choose to do it with with double bands, like 2 at a time instead of doubled over, you can do that. It will make the arms a little bit puffier, bulkier though, and her arms are a little more skinny in the movie, so this will give you more of that tight effect when you double them. And if it's easier for you to do this on the loom, of course you can. I find this is a little bit faster, gives me a little more control, but whatever you're comfortable with is fine, of course. And I didn't write this down, but I do remember we're going to need 2 sets of double yellow. So grab 2 yellow and slide them on, and another 2 yellow, slide them on. That's one arm. I'm going to make one more. If you feel your hook is getting too crowded, you can transfer some of these pieces onto another hook. I'm going to keep moving here. This is our last piece for now, so we'll keep it together. It's 2 bands wrapped, I think we said 3 times, and onto 8 doubled over singles. I've got 2 more. That's my cat crunching food behind me, if you're wondering. I think it's 2 more. I hope I haven't lost count here, but I can check that in a minute. 1, 2, 3. Okay, just It's a little bit twisted, but I think my numbers are correct there. And 2 yellow bands slide through, 2 yellow bands. Let's come back to the loom with 2 skin tone top center to the second peg down on the center. And we're going to switch to yellow or whatever shade you're using for your shirt here. Come down 2 bands, second center to the second on the side. And again to the opposite side. On each row we'll come down twice with double yellow bands, so 2 together, once and twice, once and twice, and in the middle once and twice. Okay, here we switch to red. We're going to take 1 red for each row. Stretch, twist, double it over, place it from your 4th peg to your 5th peg for each of your rows. I'll turn this over in 1 second so you can see a little bit better here. And then we're going to have 1 more set of double yellow bands on each of those rows. You can take your arms and place them onto your second pegs down, so transfer the bands off of your hook. I feel like this one is kind of turning upward, so I'm going to turn it around. Just putting it on sort of upside down here so that when it curves it's going to curve in a little more to my liking there. That's better. And the other arm on the other side. Let's put 2 blues down on each of the rows where we left off. I know I'm doing this in kind of a funny order, but you know what? It's going to work out in the end, and that's good enough for me. This should all be good. Okay, and all right. So this is where I had a little trouble. We're going to do this very carefully here. I'm going to take my leg piece and put one side, hold on, we should be good here, I believe, to just transfer that onto this next peg, but bear with me, I'll do this looping part slowly and just make sure we got it when we got it. I think that will be alright though. Okay, same on the other side, let's put that onto, this is your 7th peg from the top. We can do some holding bands. So I'm using a single yellow or blue across these are the 6th pegs down, and it's going to make a little triangle. Yellow or a red for the set above that, and I found that my first one there got a little bit loose, so I'm going to do a doubled over single on the 4th pegs from the top. You can see here I had to cinch one in because it was just really floppy right around the waist area. If you want to double over a couple of them, you can. I don't want to make it too tight though that she has a pinched in waist, because she is fairly straight. Like her, I don't know, her figure is not too plump but not too thin, so I wanted to try and keep that consistent as best I could there, and single across there. Now I think that's everything we need to loop. So, oh, blue, that's what I'm missing. Okay, hold on, we're gonna take off that bottommost yellow and switch that with blue, and I'm just looking here. I used 2 blue bands to make it a little bit sturdier. And there they go. Okay, so those are going to be across the 7th. Now we'll start at the side. I'm going to reach through the leg bands on that 7th peg down, catch the bottom 2 blue and bring them up and forward. Push back the triangular holding bands and come up with the 2 yellows. push back the yellow holding band or triangle band, come up with that doubled over red, which will be a little bit tighter, and loop up once more and twice more, and then reach in through the arms to get the bottom two yellow. And they are coming diagonally from the second center, so that's where we want to bring it back to. And if you look on the side, there shouldn't be anything hanging loose below, and it looks like we've got them all. So it's safe to go to the other side and loop up again. And the blues from the legs, your next yellows, red, yellows, yellows, and back into that starting point on the second center. Now if you feel like your loom is starting to get a little bit tight here, you can release some of the bands that have been looped in. And when you're ready, come back to the middle and bring your bottom two blue up and over. And you can go straight to the top of the loom. And we will grab the top two center peg or center bands, put them on your hook or a C-clip or on your finger. These guys here, don't lose them, they're holding everything together now. And you can release the rest, use your fingers or a hook or whatever you find is easiest for you. I should be doing this with my hook here. Okay. Check for loose bands as you go. I think we're okay. Alrighty. Yay. And give everything a little adjustment, and then we will come back to the loom to start on the head. Okay, coming back to the top, I will show you how to do this with the red. If you decide that you don't want the hood on, you can replace the reds with browns and just leave off that top piece, and it should come out relatively the same. You could also take out some of the thickness, a little of the thickness here by taking out one or two links when we do our side extension, and I'll try to remember to say something about that when we get there. Now if you are keeping with the red hood, you want this little nub up here. We're going to take a single red, wrap it on our hook 1, 2, 3, or 4 times, put it onto a doubled over single red. Put the other side back on your hook, and then put these onto the top center peg. This will just give a little bit of a bump at the top when it's all done. Okay, we're gonna take red bands now, and 2 from the top center to the top right, 2 from the top center to the top left, and once down, or one set of double red down on each of your rows or columns here. Okay, like so. I'm gonna switch to the color for the hair. I'm using just a brown here, it's kind of chocolatey. We'll come down once on either side, and then 2 times in the middle. I'm still using 2 bands at a time here. I'm going down further in the middle so that we've got that little bit of the hair overhang, as does your character there. We can switch to skin tone now. 2 sets of double skin tone band down the middle, from the 4th to the 5th, from the 5th to the 6th. 2 sets down on either side, 3rd to 4th, 4th to 5th. And we'll join them together, 5th side to 6th center with 2 more skin tone bands. And repeat that on the opposite side. Okay, let's do our We'll do our holding bands next. I'm going to take a single red, put it across the second pegs from the top, triangle formation. I'm going to take a brown, double it over and put that across your third pegs from the top. I'm going to skip the next one just for a minute here and go to the fifth pegs down with a doubled over single. Make another triangle there. And for the last one, we're going to be doing the eyes, but let's get the body off the hook here and then I'll show you a couple of ways. Now, the side that is pointing away from you is ought to end up being on the front of your body. So if there's one side you feel is cleaner or that you like better, you can arrange it so that it's pointing downwards and then put your bands onto that center sixth peg down. Make sure it's on good. Okay, so now the hook is free. For the eyes, I'll show you the two ways here. If you are using beads, pop it onto your hook, doubled over single skin tone, slide it through. And this would go from the fourth peg down on one side to the fourth peg down on the other. So very quickly, that's what this looks like. Hook between and bring one piece over that fourth peg down in the middle. If your bands, or sorry, if you have beads, but they are too small to fit onto a band, the trick is, you've seen me do this before, put a piece of floss, a thin wire, or a needle or thread, and thread carefully through your beads hole. And it's still going to have a large enough hole to fit around elastic, but you'd be surprised how often it still will. Okay, double over your band, slide it through, the floss that is. Bring it back through the bead. Trying to give you, like I say, a couple of ways, but we'll do this quickly here, and then slide it on. So that's for a bead with a small hole, and if you're going to do bands, which is what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to do 2 single blues, wrap each one 3 or 4 times. And as I did with the beads, it's going to be a straight transfer, the larger beads that is. So doubled over single skin tone, slide on, fourth peg down to the fourth peg down. And bands or beads, we want to separate and bring this over, and what that does is it keeps your eyes from rolling back and forth and sliding under the nearby bands. It keeps them kind of centered there. Okay, we are almost done. The last thing is the extension, and what that's going to do is give us these nice brown curls and the red hood. So let's get some hair colored bands. We're going to take a single, wrap it 1, 2, 3 times on the hook. And, oh, you know what I forgot? I didn't do it here. I did it on my original. This is completely up to you. If you want to try and get the cheeks a little bit thicker, you could add a third band on either side from the fourth to the fifth if you want one more skin tone band there. I did try that the first time around. Honestly, I don't know if it had much effect, but that's something I had made a note of, so I'll pass along that idea. Okay, for our hair chain again, sorry, I'm all over the place today. Single wraps, we're going to pull it onto 1, 2, and 3 sets of double brown bands. Now at this point, if you don't want the hood, you can make the next 2 or 3 brown and attach it either at the top or the second peg down, and that will round it out a little and give you the brown hair, but it won't make anything red here. As well, if you're not wanting the hood and you don't want that added thickness, you could theoretically take out those top red bands, or you can replace them with the brown and keep the head a little bit thick, but that's up to you. If you're still going for the hood, you can now grab 3 sets of double red and add those to the chain. So I'm hoping this is making sense and not confusing, but if you're just doing hair and no hood, it could look like this, but all brown for all 6. and these could be brown, or you could take them out altogether and make it the head a little bit shorter, like so. Okay, but I'm trying to make it as accurate as I can. So with that in mind, let's put the chain onto this top side peg. I'm gonna turn this around so you can hopefully see a little better, because now I'm gonna stretch this out. And from each of my little sections of chain, I want to take one little piece and put it onto each of the pegs along the side of the face here. And this keeps it nice and snug against the body. It'll help it round and conform to the face. Make one for the other side with a single brown. Wrap 1, 2, 3 times onto 3 sets of double brown. 2, 3, and we'll switch to red for another 3 sets of double bands. If you don't want the red hood, then you can do 2 or 3 sets of double brown here instead. And we'll place it on the opposite side, right at the top, and stretch and catch it for the bands below, sorry, the pegs below. Okay, one more there. Get these out of the way. And this is what we have here. Okay, this is possibly the hardest part, which isn't so bad. We're going to reach into where we've added the neck on, find the 2 bands that are sitting above all the rest in there, and I can see in my case they are coming in from the right. So I'm trying to get both at once there, and only those 2. I'm going to bring them around, and you've heard this said before, you want to see a nice teardrop shaping and nothing that looks like it's coming, you know, nothing should be pulling across from here. That would be bad. Go for the next 2, bring them to the left, the side closer to you. That's where my necks are coming from, and the last 2 that are left under the neck piece are going to be coming straight up. Okay, let's loop up the center just because. If you'd like, you can stop before you get to the top peg and we can come back to that, but it shouldn't matter too much because this is going to be the back side, so I'm not so worried about what's going to end up on the top here. And then for either side, what we want to do is find the bottom 2 bands and bring them up through the bands that are above it. So reach in, push back, get your bottom 2, bring them around. You can always use your fingers to, or your hook to pull the bands out to the side if you're having a hard time seeing them or getting a handle on them. That will add a little bit of tension that will help you recognize which ones are you're trying to be getting. Then I looped up to the middle from that top side. We'll repeat that on the opposite side here. We're almost ready to take her off, and then we'll show you as quickly as I can how to go about making that cape there. And I believe that's almost everything here. Now, the other thing, while I remember to mention it, is if you have used beads and you wanted to draw on a pupil with a Sharpie marker, you can use a blue and a black, you can use a blue, you can use a black, whichever. Just do it carefully and make sure that your eyes are facing the way you want them to face. Okay, once everything is hooked in, we're going to take the hook itself and go straight down through the bands on the top center peg. I'm gonna point it so that the open part is coming down away from me, and then I can catch on a single red or 2 for extra security. Bring it straight up and turn it around so that it's now facing open part up. I'll put the other side on and my first side will go over the end of the hook, and this creates a slip knot. So hold on to that very carefully, and you can remove the rest of red from her spot on the loom here. You know, I thought when I first saw this, the figure, and first thought of doing this, I thought this was going to be a really easy design, and I was even surprised it hadn't been done before, but this took me close to 2 hours to figure out. A lot of doing, redoing. This top band here, you could stretch it and twist it over that little lump, or what I would prefer to do myself is hide it in the back on a C-clip. And you can bring it under, like scoop it underneath a couple of bands and C-clip. I like to put my C-clip under another band just to keep it from coming loose and hopping about there. If anything else is flopping or needs adjusting, you can tidy that up now. Okay, and that's most of it. So let's do the cape. If you don't want to do the cape, that's totally up to you. It does use a few bands here, so I understand. And I have almost, I think the same cape I show is in my last tutorial in Shira, but I'm going to show you again. Now I'm going to use single bands. That will look like this. If you wanted a tighter fitting, thicker, sturdier band, you could use cape. You would use 2 bands at a time, and or double your triangle holding bands. And what I'm doing is I'm coming down diagonally, and then I'm placing one on each peg all the way to the bottom of the loom. And this feels like it's too long. You could always do it a little bit shorter. Your choice entirely. And when I do get to the bottom, I'm going to make chains just as we did with the hair, except they will be single chains, and that's going to make it wider, because otherwise it would only be like, I don't know, half as thick, and then it starts looking kind of funny. And if you wanted it to be extra thick, I suppose you could do more rows and do that on a wider loom, or place 2 looms together. There are also methods which I find very frustrating to sort out, but there are also ways where you can complete a section and then transfer your pegs, like, or your whole row over. That's a lot of trouble to go to for this kind of an accessory, I think. All right, almost at the bottom. And I'm going to do triangle bands. So top to bottom, single chains, triangle bands starting at the bottom there. And for every set above, just little triangles. I'm doing singles. Double bands or 2 bands together will make it stronger. If you double it over, it will make it extra thin, which we don't want. And that's why I'm going to also suggest adding an extension, which we'll do in just 1 minute here. Okay, and for the extension I did a chain of about 13. So I think what I'm going to do it on one side and let you do the other if you choose to. Take a single, wrap it 2 or more times, and pull it onto 13 singles. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I need to trim my nails. They're getting a little hard to work around again. 8, 9. Ooh, that worked out nicely. I accidentally counted the right number here. Sometimes that happens. or I accidentally grabbed the right number and it looked up to my count. I don't know if you could accidentally count something. Okay, I'm going to put it on a top side peg, stretch it out, one from each chain, each link, pop it on. Now you can make one of these to go on the opposite side. It's the same thing in reverse. I'm just going to do the one side this time. You might even find that you like it with the 4 across and feel you don't need to do a 5th chain for this. Okay, a couple more and then we're going to loop it up. Doesn't want to go there. All right, okay, like so. Now for each of the rows, you're pushing back your triangles, getting your bottom 1 band. If you did decide to go thicker with the 2, then you'll be going in for 2 bands each time. And I can think off the top of my head of 2 or 3 ways that you could attach this to the body, so I'll give you some of my ideas there when we get there in just a minute. I'm going to loop up diagonally into the middle, so that's one side done. My arms are getting tired, I've been working at this so long. Okay, come up the middle. If you're ahead of me here, feel free to jump to the point where I get this off with the loom. Going straight to the top. And then on the last side, if you have an extension there, just watch out for that, and we'll loop up the bottom singles from under those triangle bands again. I almost got it. Ah, no. I almost got it and I almost lost it there. Whew, that was close. It's getting clumsy. I've been doing this for a while now. Probably should have taken a longer break between my prototype and the video, but I wanted to do it while it was kind of fresh. Okay, I'm gonna take a single red, slide it through all the bands on that top center. Oops, make sure I go through all of them. And release this. Okay, so there's your cape. You might have one a little wider or thicker or not. Your first option would be to take this and pop it right over the head, or to slide one over, create a slip knot and bring that over the head. That will give you a red choker. It won't give you that little yellow piece though, which is why I decided not to do it that way. Second option would be to go under a couple of bands in the back. Oops. Another option would be to go under, to turn to the back, go under a couple of bands, slide it through, and then you could put it on a C-clip, or this is probably easier, stretch it and bring the rest of the cape through. That's what I would suggest doing. You could also attach it with the C-clip, so those are a couple of options. Now, the reason I like it like this is it's secured. I haven't needed a C-clip, and it won't get in the way when I try and put on this piece here. So, as I said, I used a bead. I'm not sure if I have another yellow gold bead handy, but we'll have a fast look here. Or I could show you with the different colors. Ah, there we go. I do have one. Okay, so I'm going to use my dental floss method again and slide my floss through I'm going to put it onto a red band. I'll put a red band on the floss, bring it back over and back through that bead. And there we go. Okay, so from here, again, you have a couple of options. You could put your hook through, stretch it out, and bring this all over the head. Put the head through that loop. You could put your cape over or have a red band here and then catch it around, but honestly that's kind of messy. It is easiest, I think, to simply wrap it around the neck, turn to the back, catch one side, catch the other side, pull one side under, and then you can put that on a C-clip or attach it to your cape there. It looks just fine that way. It's, like I say, nice and neat. It's a little bit easier. And I'm just going to adjust that to where I can see it. You can tuck your hook onto another band nearby. Sorry, not your hook, your C-clip here. So that's a little more stable. And there you go. So let me show you the two versions here. Now the only thing I wasn't so happy with at the results here is that the cape and the legs sort of blend together if you try and do a picture or whatnot. I will say I do prefer the beads myself over the bands, but sometimes you don't have those beads or the marker, or you know, you want to do it all legit with bands. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, do you know the other nice thing about attaching the cape this way is it is detachable. So if you ever want to take the cape off, you can take it right off over the head. Okay, so that is Little Red. And I hope you'll check out some of my other videos. Thank you for watching. Bye guys.